The original Death Stranding was a bit divisive. It delivered Hideo Kojima's distinctive style in spades, although its post-apocalyptic walk-in simulator meets mail delivery service within a cooperative infrastructure building social network wasn't everyone's idea of fun. I loved it, but it was weird. Which is a word I'll be using a lot today, because Norman Reedus and his magic fetus are back, and this time, they're coming down under. Death Stranding 2 picks up almost a year after the events of the first game, with Sam and baby Lou, now free from her pod, trying to live happily in hiding on the border of Mexico. But our old friend Fragile manages to track them down and convinces them to do a bit of work. Soon they find themselves roped into an expedition to Australia to try and link it up with the chiral network, Death Stranding's sort of internet equivalent. I'm going to leave the plot specifics there though, because I really don't want to spoil 1 second of the story if I don't have to. I will say if you never played Death Stranding, you will be a little lost coming into this. There's a lot of characters and concepts that will be going over your head. There is a bare-bones story recap available in the game, and they do quickly brush over the main ideas quite early on, so you won't be completely clueless, but you'll still be pretty clueless. Although I think even if you did play the original, you're probably still confused coming into this. But I'm going to try and paint the picture of Death Stranding's world for you. So there was an apocalyptic event known as the Death Stranding, where dead souls from their beaches, a sort of transitional place to the afterlife, could cross over back into the real world, where they're called beached things, or BTs. But when a living being gets consumed by a BT, it creates a sort of matter meets antimatter nuclear explosion known as a void out. You play as Sam, who's what's called a repatriate, someone who can come back to life from the beach after dying. People also use babies cut from brain-dead mothers, known as bridge babies, that act as a sort of medium or bridge between worlds, and they help you see BTs through these flashy robot arms called Odrodex. Rain is now also called timefall as it makes things age rapidly, everyone lives in bunkers, and no one wants to go outside. So it's up to you and your fellow porters to deliver everyone's mail and help connect their internet service, letting them send each other memes and do their online shopping. There's a lot more to it, but that's the gist. It's a wonderfully strange apocalypse though, a hypnotic blend of science, paranormal, spiritualism, and the power of nature. When it comes to the gameplay, the basics are still very much the same. There is plenty of little quality of life changes, like quick access to a sort cargo button, or the ability to drop your backpack before a fight. But if you didn't like it before, I doubt these kind of changes are really going to change your mind. And like before, a vast majority of the game is based around delivery missions, where you take cargo from point A to B, often over kilometers of rough and dangerous terrain. Meanwhile, every piece of gear, including weapons, needs to be carried on you too, so you need to make sure you only bring what you really need. To start, you'll have to carry literally everything on your person too, stacking boxes of various sizes comically high on your back and all over your body. The heavier and higher the load, the more likely you are to lose your balance, stack it, and drop your cargo everywhere, which damages it in the process. But with some gear like ladders and ropes or exoskeletons, combined with a bit of patience and good route planning, it's relatively easy to ensure all your deliveries arrive in pristine condition. It is hard to argue against people deriding this as a walking simulator when it spends so much time literally simulating your balance as you walk long distances. And fair enough if that isn't your thing. Personally though, I find the whole process very satisfying. I enjoy that sense of going out on a hike, planning out what gear you need, what route to take, and seeing your objective way off in the distance and slowly making your way to it. I love its ability to give the land and the distances between places some real weight and meaning too. So often in games you can just fast travel or zip around at will, making the worlds ultimately feel kind of small and inconsequential. Whereas here, every journey is considered, every vista you find earned, and every destination reached a small victory. It all reminds me a lot of a moment in Red Dead Redemption that I think sticks with everyone who plays it, where you cross over into Mexico on your horse, and Far Away by Jose Gonzalez starts playing. Just to feel alive again. Pushing forward through the night. There's no action here, it's just you, the landscape, the journey, and a song. And it's a surprisingly powerful combination. Death Stranding basically takes that moment and that feeling and makes a whole game around it, with its own brilliantly timed needle drops to help too. Woodkid has also turned out an absolute top tier soundtrack for this that is now firmly in my best game soundtracks of all time list.
still leaves like a knife, and the sun's out of sight. I see the world they build to lose at the trial, what is left and what is right.
The large open world of Australia has some beautiful sights to take in along the way too. Parts have clearly been ravaged by the Death Stranding and are unrecognisable, while others do have that distinctive Australian feel. Comparing the map to the first games in terms of size, it is bigger but not hugely so. I did a quick measurement and I estimate the original was about 5 by 5 kilometers across, and this is roughly 7 by 7. And much like the first game's version of America, this is a very condensed and geographically bonkers version of Australia. You can see near clear from the south coast to the north, and the entire southeast corner of the country is taken up by a single giant mountain range. The whole of Australia here basically fits inside what is Sydney CBD in this universe. Also, sorry Tasmania, you've been left off this map too, although you can pretend this is Tasmania if you want. It is a much more diverse landscape than the original's quite stark Icelandic-inspired version of America. Here you'll be journeying across bushlands, deserts and snowy mountains, navigating sheer cliffs and deep valleys, and lots of red rocky outcrops. It's just a much more colourful and interesting land to navigate through. And graphically, I mean, come on, it's just beautiful. The opening moment, especially looking out over the mountains of Mexico and knowing that you can just walk through it all, is just one of those gaming moments where you can't help but marvel how far games and their worlds have come. The photo mode button got a serious workout on this adventure. The world also feels slightly more dynamic now thanks to things like rock slides, and when it rains rivers will even raise or dry riverbeds will start to flow. Sadly, it didn't really make much difference in my experience. I think I can count the number of rock slides I had to worry about on 2 fingers, and worry is quite a strong word, while a slightly raised river doesn't really change the experience all that much. One thing I definitely did enjoy though was the addition of more wildlife. I always got a little kick anytime I saw a kangaroo or emu running around. There was also this amazing mission where you have to rescue an injured kangaroo and deliver it to an animal shelter. But during it, a massive bushfire kicks off and you have to use a special hose cannon to fight your way through the flames. Firstly, the fire propagation and firefighting is so cool. I was legitimately hoping that a large part of the game was about to become a firefighting animal rescue experience, but alas, it was limited to that one mission. But it does speak to the amount of work and attention to detail they put into something you really only see once or twice here. I also love that it leads to a whole animal shelter mechanic where you're encouraged to trap and rescue any animals you find out in the wild too. It would have been cool if it was fleshed out a little more and there was like a list of animals you had to try and get, make it kind of Pokemon, but it was still fun.
This one's for you.
Of course, vehicles still play a large role in helping you get around too, with 2 main vehicles you'll be using a lot. There's the Tri-Cruiser bike, which makes getting across the landscape much faster, although it doesn't help you carry that much extra cargo. Then eventually you get access to pickup trucks that can haul significant amounts of cargo with you. You can also now customize them a lot more with gear like extra batteries, or on the pickup you can also place 2 cannons, like a grapple cannon that can grab nearby cargo, or machine guns and other weapons to help you fend off foes. Once you do get a delivery to a new site, you'll usually bring them online into the chiral network, which will essentially switch on the online features in that area. Suddenly you'll see structures and little holographic signs left from other players popping up everywhere. Not much new to talk about there though, but it is still a lovely system that makes you feel like you're part of a community of porters, all helping each other out, trying to put useful structures like watchtowers that can recon bases, generators to recharge your vehicle batteries, and of course my favourite, ziplines to help you get around. One nice new touch is ziplines can now be handily curved when placed to help you go around mountains and obstacles. There's just something about creating zipline routes between 2 bunkers that brings me great joy. Likewise, I love seeing the little activity feed constantly ticking away saying that someone's used something I've built or that other porters have left likes on my structures. It just hits that dopamine release that social media has trained us all to crave. Of course, despite that connection, the experience still feels quite lonely and isolating, because you barely see another soul out in the world. I guess that's some kind of commentary, no doubt, on the isolating yet connective nature of social media. Beyond placing down just small structures, you also get a chance to build some sizable infrastructure, contributing materials to restoring a road network and the new monorail lines. Monorails are built just like roads, where you drop off a big chunk of resources at an autopaver station, connect up all the sections between 2 stops, and then you can just load up monorails with more cargo than you'll realistically ever have access to. You can also put your vehicle on if you want, and of course yourself, and quickly ship yourself off over a good long distance. As a bonus, you can also use the monorails as zip lines, and they also connect up to various mining sites that can now produce a huge amount of resource in exchange for Chiralium, helping you build out those roads and tracks more efficiently. I did enjoy the new monorails. They're a very convenient way to get around, and they certainly come in handy on several missions which required huge amounts of cargo to be moved. There is an undeniable cheeky joy in completing entire orders by just shipping the goods directly via monorail. I did feel by the end of the experience they were maybe a bit underutilized. I was just wishing they had more of a role to play. I do truly find it to be one of the most satisfying things though, linking up settlements with highways and monorails, and turning what were once long tough journeys through uneven terrain into a quick smooth drive down the highway, or even easier just jumping on a train. You do also get access to one other vehicle, but it's one you don't get to drive, the DHV Magellen. It's a sort of floating home base spaceship slash submarine. It follows you around and lets you quick travel to any safe house that you've brought into the network. You can also use it to bring cargo with you for deliveries. Using it will nerf the rating you get for it, but it will still level up your star rating with that settlement. Personally, I didn't like to do that as it kinda just felt like cheating, but for those who maybe want to fast track some of the delivery busy work, I can see it being a welcome addition. Of course, it's not all nature hikes and sunshine, with plenty of dangers out there in the world, from bandit camps to BT infested areas. Combat is pretty similar to the original, although I think you feel a lot more powerful this time, thanks in part to the fact that you get access to guns almost immediately, and the majority of weapons affect both BTs and humans now. Some may find that takes a bit of the tension away from the BT encounters early on, but trust me, they'll still mess you up. Gunplay does feel a bit tighter and punchier now too, and there's some new enemy types to mix things up. Boss fights are definitely a highlight, and while they mechanically tend to boil down to little more than just hitting the glowy weak points, they are visually absolutely a sight to behold. Largely, you have access to the same arsenal of weapons and equipment that you had in the first game, with of course a few new additions. I won't go into all of them, but one of my favourites was the new Tranquilizer sniper rifle, which let me perch myself up on mountains half a kilometre away from a base and just put them all to sleep. There's just a great wide range of tools and options here for tackling any situation in whatever playstyle you like, whether you want to be stealthy, going guns blazing, or if you prefer a more hands-on approach. And even if all you want to do is scale a mountain and go snowboarding, you're covered here. There is also this one new grenade called a capture grenade that I want to mention. Sadly, I can't show it in action because it didn't unlock until past the point we were told not to capture footage from, but I'll just say it basically lets you have kaiju battles. It's so cool. When you get it, do not sleep on using it. There's also now a nice little perk tree that you can work through, unlocking new nodes as you level up your various porter skills. Some just boost stats like healing speed or damage output, while others offer some more interesting perks like the ability for cars to drive themselves on roads. Now I do want to talk about the story a little without getting into spoilers and specifics, because it's obviously a huge part of the experience. And I gotta say, it stirred up some really strong emotions in me. There was lots of hell yeah, fist pumping moments, and plenty of gut wrenching turns that made me a teary eyed mess at times. It's a real roller coaster. And let's call a spade, because it is weird as hell and stylistically all over the shop. I mean, at times it feels like art house cinema, while at others it's blockbuster action. Then there's some horror sprinkled in there, or samurai adventure and random bits of comedy. It just does a bit of everything. I very much enjoy that aspect of Kojima's work, but sometimes it does feel like he's just being weird for the sake of being weird. I mean, a talking doll? Really?
This is Dollman. A man whose cow wound up stuck inside a... Well, you get it. He used to be a spirit medium.
When I was still flesh and bone, of course. Regrettably, my transformation cost me my talents.
Playing through this does feel like playing through someone's fever dream at times. Everything can feel so surreal, and often I had no idea what was actually happening. But at every stage I was still spellbound by that strangeness. I was pulled in by the confusion, driven on to find answers. And I do think even with all those disparate parts, it still manages to feel cohesive and keep a consistent tone. I know some can find Kojima's work to feel like the overindulgence of an auteur, given perhaps too much rope, and it's hard to say that's not a valid point of view. But I mean, come on, watch this and tell me that you aren't at least a bit intrigued. I live for this kind of thing though, and I have a huge amount of respect for Kojima and his team for intentionally trying to create divisive work that stirs up those strong opinions. It's helped a lot here that both technically and artistically, this is stunning. Hideo Kojima's direction, the level of detail in the graphics, and of course the entire cast performances truly make the cutscenes and the story reach new heights. I especially love Troy Baker as the villain Higgs. He just absolutely steals every scene he's in.
Before they show up, how about I get a little taste of that endless agony? Something special, just for you. Look at that rope you like so much. This here, my guts. And they'll grow tighter over time. You best believe they will pop your head clean off.
But there's so many beautiful, deeply emotional, and just downright cool moments throughout the story that I can't wait to discuss with people. The entire final act is honestly one of the most awe-inspiring, crazy bits of video gaming to ever be created. Like, it actually made me cry. Real tears, and I am not an easy crier. I think its core themes and messages of love and loss, family and friendship, isolation and connection, the stick in the rope, nature versus science, the emotional core behind it all, and the deeper meanings all shine through clearly, even when you may just be lost and unsure of what is actually happening in the moment. But by the end, I felt it did definitely stick the landing, delivering answers to my questions and putting a bow on the whole adventure. By the time those credits rolled and my nearly 80-hour adventure came to a close, the only thought I had was just, wow, that was a damn masterpiece. And I don't use that word lightly. It's an unapologetically and intentionally strange game that deliberately sets out to divide players. It's not for everyone. But I can't recommend it enough. Let yourself get taken in by this world and go on this journey, and you'll be rewarded with one of the most impressive games you'll ever play. It further cements Kojima as one of the great auteurs of gaming. It's stunning, it's art, it's weird, it's just, wow. Play.